What's the penalty if I go into the paddock and just started cleaning my competitors' bowling balls without their knowledge? What would happen to me? I answered the question. I said I'd be disqualified.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Average at Best. As always, I'm Rob.
And I'm Josh, and today we're going to be discussing Belmo's recent live stream he did on Facebook to discuss why the USBC is finding him, Storm's ball ban, and more.
Now, first things first, we want to say that we're simply just trying to cover the news that's coming out. We're not trying to throw any specific shade at Storm or USBC. You know, we just want you guys to be updated on everything that's going on, so just so there's not any confusion in that regard.
Yeah. That being said, we are almost to 1,000 subscribers right now. We are closing in very quickly, so if you guys could please hit the like and subscribe button down below. If just 1% of you guys could subscribe to the channel, then we'd hit that goal immediately. So yeah. Now onto the video.
Yep. So initially, Belmo addressed that Storm, the blanket owner of all of these companies, did not tell the players or Belmo specifically to make his post or to do his live stream or to talk bad about the USBC in any way, any facet, you know.
Right, and this was all his decision, basically.
Yeah, it's his opinion, his words. It doesn't directly reflect on Storm, right?
Storm have not asked me personally to do this or to post what I have posted. I've done this because I don't feel good about it. It doesn't make sense to me personally. There's been a lot of outcry for suing, and I don't think that's the right avenue either. I don't think that's good for our game. I don't think that's good for any company to be suing each other within our industry. You know, I just wanted to make that really clear that this is not something that I've been asked to do or made to do by my sponsors or by anyone.
So that's kind of what Belmo really opens with. And then Belmo moves on to actually speak about his initial encounter. And this is this is really what he first posted about, you know, the staff member came to Belmo and said, hey, Jason, you know, we want you to bring your equipment to the testing area. And Belmo was like, okay, sure, you know. And then as Belmo was getting ready to bring his equipment over, he overheard some ball reps from opposing companies saying that potentially ball surface was being altered or cleaning was being used during this testing, which none of the bowlers had been told about this beforehand.
Right.
So, you know,
all the bowlers originally were just told that this was going to be a testing process and that it was, you know, they just wanted to test people's equipment. They didn't specifically say, hey, we're going to change the surface of the bowling balls or anything like that. So whenever Belmo overheard this, you know, he kind of got a little bit skeptical about what really was going to be going on.
Yeah, and so Belmo, obviously, he brings his equipment to the testing area, and he asks, he's like, can I watch the testing be done? Where the USBC staff member says, nobody's allowed to watch the testing, and Belmo says, like, you know, well, then I don't want my equipment to be tested.
Right.
At which point the staff member replies with, well, that's fine. It was voluntary anyways, you know, which they never said initially.
That it struck Belmo and another player off guard whenever they heard this, because they were told that it was going to be, you know, they were requested to bring their equipment, and then they were never told that it was voluntary at any point in time. Yeah. So that was something that really struck out to him. And it was also confirmed later that at least a couple of balls had been cleaned by the USBC, but whether or not surface changes were made is still in speculation. But it was confirmed later on that they cleaned the bowling balls. You know, they did it without the player's initial knowledge.
Prior knowledge. So, and this is when Belmo makes his infamous post, is following that first USBC Masters practice session. So now we jump to the very next day. This is right before the Belmo squad kicks off, and Belmo is called into the tournament office here, and he was handed a fine with a written warning for basically his conduct regarding the post. You know?
Right, so he was basically just handed like a, hey, we didn't like your post type thing, and like, here's a fine based on, you know, what you said. And Belmo was kind of like, well, I was just saying what was in front of me. He wasn't trying to badmouth anybody. He was just saying what was going on. He posted just a photo of the black curtains. He was very adamant about, does this just seem a little bit weird to you guys? He didn't seem to be too malicious in saying anything. So he was obviously a little bit of upset after this.
Yeah, and Belmo said in his live he wanted to ask questions and talk to some of the USBC directors, but because of this fine and this written warning, he felt like, well, if I bring this up and I try to talk to them about this, they might take it as an accusation, and in which case they might suspend me from the Masters, and that would be worst case scenario.
Right. So he then goes to ask the staff who gave him the fine to confirm if surface changes were even made or if cleaners had been used. And the staff member confirms that ball cleaners were used, but he could not confirm or deny that surface changes were made, which, you need to know if this stuff is happening, because they're in the middle of a competition. Like if people outside of the player's discretion are making surface changes while the squad is going on, that could drastically impact people's performance levels.
Yeah. Belmo even said himself that even if you aren't altering the surface, right, if you're not changing the surface, just still using some type of cleaner on somebody's equipment without telling them is wrong. If you let people know this is voluntary and we're going to clean your equipment, okay, that's understandable. But cleaning their equipment without letting them know, definitely, it's like, these players rely on this.
It's not a good thing to do. And I mean, he then asked the official,
what's the penalty if I go into the paddock, and even if I did use just an alcohol cleaner or another cleaner and just started cleaning my competitors' bowling balls without their knowledge, what would happen to me? I answered the question. I said I'd be disqualified. My reputation would be ruined, and it's not right.
So he's like, what is the fine if I went, and all I did was just clean one of my competitors' bowling balls? Then what would happen to him, he asks. And before the staff member even responds, he basically answered his question for him. He said, I'd be disqualified. My reputation would be ruined, and it's just simply not right to do stuff like that without the player's knowledge.
Yeah, and I think that's the main point Belmo makes here, is that, like, look, you can't do this without telling the players, right? That's the main point.
It's a huge no-no.
Yeah, I mean, if a competitor of ours, like, wanted to be like, hey, I'll clean your equipment for you, I'd be like, no.
I want to do my own stuff. I don't want some third party touching my equipment without me at least being present and knowing that it's happening.
And also, for these players, it's without their knowledge, which I think is the main point again.
It's the major point. Because if it was with their knowledge and they were like asked, hey, do you want us to clean your equipment, then we would, not have too much of a problem with it. But it was the fact that it was cleaned and altered without the player's knowledge is the big red flag here.
Yeah, and that's really the main point that Belmo is trying to make, is that the reason he did not feel comfortable about it was because they weren't told it was voluntary right off the bat. That was told to them afterwards.
Yeah.
And also, they had no idea their equipment was going to be cleaned or surfaced or really handled in any way that could alter how the ball is going to react. So Belmo, he kind of says, like, the conversation went respectfully, and they had a couple kind of, just like joking laughs about it, and
it seemed to be lighthearted in nature.
And they moved on, and that was until during the later parts of the day one competition at the Masters that the USBC announced that 6 balls under the Storm Products umbrella were going to be banned from national competition.
That day, we obviously hear that 6 bowling balls from Storm, including a previous ball in the Spectre, had failed due to the softness issue. And the very first thing I did was call Storm and said, hey, what happened? What is going on? This is huge news. And Storm were really shocked. They were saddened, and they were also really frustrated that this announcement was given 3 hours heads up to them of making the announcement that there was no opportunity for Storm to be able to compile their data, compare each other's data with USBCs, to be able to, as we have come to find, show how variable the durometer readings can be. And then that got me thinking a lot about the USBC's testing and why their testing is a hard line on technology that is not precise. And I couldn't understand how the governing body could be so confirmed on their number with 0 variances, knowing how many variables there are when using a durometer.
USBC only gave Storm a 3-hour notice leading up to this announcement. So not a lot of time for Storm to really get their ducks in a row. And for Storm's their own players, their own staff that are actually competing in this tournament to kind of, get things organized, because it's not necessarily the players' fault that this happened. Right. I mean, they have to now get new equipment, and it becomes a whole ordeal at this point.
And they gave them no time to confirm any of the data that the USBC had collected. Time works things out and see if there was any issues coming across. I mean, there was no time to talk about the variances in durometer meetings. They just went, hey, we're banning these 6 bowling balls. Here's a 3-hour notice. And a lot of people wondering, is Storm purposefully cheating to be the top brand? That's a huge thing that people are kind of saying. Belmo kind of clears it up by saying,
and then I've been reading things, about Storm wanting a competitive edge, and it made me scratch my head a little bit, and I started to think, well, if people are assuming that, or if people are saying that Storm is doing something they shouldn't be doing, I would ask the question, why? I've been on Storm staff for over 20 years. We have been the #1 ball manufacturer in the world since then. We sell bowling balls faster than we can make them. Our products tell the story themselves. They're phenomenal. And at a time in our game where ball softness is such a hot issue, where a lot of eyes are on the softness and hardness of bowling balls, to then manipulate a bowling ball to be soft isn't just wrong, it's stupid.
Storm has always been the top brand out there for pretty much the last several decades. And specifically during a time where with the Purple Hammer and the ball hardness under so much scrutiny, then why would Storm intentionally make equipment that was under hardness specifications anyway? It would just simply be stupid of them to do that with all of this talk about hardness. So really, it's not like Storm purposely is trying to cheat and be the top of the bowling ball brand. I mean, they have been for years at this point. So
yeah, and it really, I think this is probably one of the stronger points Belmo makes to some of the people trying to hurdle the accusations. I mean, whether you like Storm, whether you dislike Belmo or this and that, but you have to agree that for Storm to make bowling balls that are intentionally out of specification during a time where there is a lot of talk about ball specification with Purple Hammers and whatnot,
right?
It would really be stupid of them to do that.
It would be, it would be a terrible business idea. Cause, if it comes out that they did this on purpose, then that would completely destroy their brand, and it would just be not a good decision whatsoever.
Yeah, so and we've already seen this has hurt their reputation enough, where especially with the younger audience, a little bit more hesitant now to commit really to buying Storm equipment. But whether it was Storm, Ebonite, Motive, really any brand, I think I would still have my same opinions here, that it's just it's hard to imagine that really any brand would manufacture a ball that is intentionally out of spec.
It's definitely a very stupid decision if they were if they were going to. It'd definitely be a very dumb decision.
Yeah. So, and the last couple things we'll mention here is that, why were these balls banned from national competition and solely USBC competition and not the PBA, not altogether? Well, really, the USBC and the PBA do have different hardness verifications for bowling balls.
Mm-hmm.
So the USBC's is 73D,
Yeah.
and the PBA's is 70D. So technically, all of these balls, even if they're under 73D, they still tested to be allowed on the PBA tour because they're
Right,
over
and
70.
I think all the balls that were banned were above the 70D hardness level.
Yes.
Like that they tested. They were just below the 73 for USBC's standards.
Yes.
So,
Also, Belmo brings up one final example that in the past, like at the 2020 US Open, the USBC had similar testing done. That they do this, relatively often. And after finding that some of the balls did not meet the hardness, those specific balls were banned from competition. Now, I'm pretty sure some of these were the purple hammers.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, they didn't ban all purple hammers together. They only banned the specific purple hammers that they tested that were out of hardness.
They just banned the specific balls themselves, not the entire line.
Yeah, so it begs the question, why wouldn't they do this same situation here if initially the balls that were tested passed USBC inspection and became certified? Like
Yeah, it just doesn't really make sense as to why they would do an entire line for, a small really size here that they did at the Masters. But overall, we think that the live stream that Belmo put out really opened eyes to our spectators and as to why he made the initial post and why he didn't post about the fine from the USBC until very recently. We think that the conversation and information he shared on the live stream seems honest, and if you wanted to go look at the live stream fully, we got a link in the description. You can go watch the full live stream for yourself.
It'd be a lot longer than this video, but we just tried to cover all the points for you guys.
Yeah. He's just a player that's concerned about how something is going on behind the scenes, and he just wanted to bring it out to light to just see what everybody else thought. Luckily, he has a large enough platform to share it with normal viewers like us.
Yeah, and most bowlers don't have the platform that Jason does, so
yeah.
It is nice to be able to see him post and at least give us some insight into what the pros are dealing with behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I think we can all at least agree on that it is nice to see this transparency, even if it does cause a little bit of friction in the communities. So,
because at the end of the day, we need stuff like this to happen, or else, if it just keeps on snowballing, it's just going to get worse and worse. And whenever it does come out, so having this type of stuff, it really should bring the community together to make these decisions on why this is affecting so many people and stuff like that. So
yeah, because it's a global issue, really.
Yeah.
So for all of bowling, but all right. Well, lastly, if you're still watching this late into the video, then
what are we 15 minutes in now?
Yeah. We want to thank you so much for watching, and again, ask you to please subscribe. Because we can't make videos like this without you guys, and believe it or not, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes to make this channel happen. We're just two college kids, not a lot of time, not a lot of money, trying to make content for you guys. So
trying to go through finals week, and fortunately summer's coming up, so we should have a lot of good content coming out on the channel. So we wanted to thank you guys again. We really appreciate it. But that's a wrap for today's video. So thank you all again.
Peace out.